Some children are suffering every single day and out of options.
Could an unconventional treatment program offer parents a drug-free solution for ADHD? My thought process was, why not try it? Then I saw the price tag.
Why some are calling it a miracle.
We're here right now with an 85% parent satisfaction rate.
And why others aren't so sure.
If it's worth paying $150 an hour to eat carrots, then that's your prerogative.
The doctor's debate. That's today.
More kids than ever are being diagnosed with ADHD, but could an unconventional treatment program offer parents a drug-free solution?
You might have seen a brain balance center pop up in your neighborhood. The company boasts more than 100 locations nationwide that all offer a drug-free approach to overcoming ADHD and other learning disabilities. The non-conventional treatment aims to rewire the brain with physical and sensory motor exercises, clean eating, and confidence building. But the program costs thousands of dollars and is not covered by insurance. Some parents claim the program is transformative, but skeptics say it lacks critical scientific data to back up claims. So who should you believe when it comes to your child's well-being?
So are these overhyped promises, or does this treatment really work? Joining us now is Vice President of Programs at Brain Balance, Rebecca Jackson, and child psychologist, Dr. Robin Silverman. Also here is their opposition developmental psychologist, Dr. Ginny Yip, and neuroscientist, Dr. Dawn Vaughn. And to get things started here, obviously everyone's goal is to provide the best possible outcomes for children with, in this case, let's say ADHD. I want to ask you, Rebecca, when it comes to your centers, what is the program? What is the goal of the program?
Sure. Our goal is a non-drug approach to helping people that struggle. We've worked with over 45,000 students all across the country, and our goal is to address the underlying mechanisms in the brain that impact functions. So to sit in a classroom or to have a conversation successfully, I need lots of different functions all coming together perfectly. I need to take in information that I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I need to block out all the distractions happening around me while listening and paying attention. If you have a struggle or challenge with any one of those areas, it can derail your experience in a classroom.
And before we get into what I would like to call overall data and proof and science, I do want to ask you, Dr. Silverman, when it comes to stories, obviously there are children having success. Because your child was in the program, can you talk about your child's experience?
Absolutely. I brought my child in and got him assessed. And what we saw with him in the beginning, he was in third grade last year. He was not doing very well in third grade. Smart kid, but not succeeding. So when we put him into the program, he started to do better. We saw some success. And in fact, coming into fourth grade this year, his teacher sat me down the second week of school and said, I have not seen this child that is written down in this file all about third grade and his struggles. I do not see that in my classroom at all. In fact, I'm seeing a confident child who's doing extremely well socially and academically. And there is nothing for a parent that is better than to see a child succeed and do such a big turnaround. The gym teacher came up to my husband when he was dropping my daughter off at school and said, I cannot believe the changes in your child this year. I have never seen such a turnaround in a child. He's paying attention better, he's doing better in the class, and he is a pleasure to have in class. And I have to say, this year is the first time that I'm hearing all of these things happening, and he's doing well socially. He was on the couch the other day with two of his friends. They were laughing, they were having such a good time, and I was thinking to myself, this wouldn't have happened last year.
Well, we're grateful to hear that your son is doing so well, and obviously a glowing review of your child's experience. But Dr. Yip, I want to ask you maybe to look at this slightly differently, because I hear this story, I'm thinking, wow, this is wonderful. What is your perspective on the approach that the Brain Balance Centers take?
Well, I think there is a lot of concerns about the premise of their program. Their premise is that we can eliminate completely symptoms of ADHD, autism, just by improving the right-left brain connectivity. And there's just no evidence for that. There is a lack of data, and the right-left brain connectivity theory is very, very outdated. So there are a lot of concerns about the program.
So Rebecca, I'll let you respond to that. What type of research have you conducted?
First, just to quickly back up, I want to be clear, we don't cure or fix anything. Our goal and job is to help make things better. There's not one silver bullet for anything that's going to completely make something go away. So we don't ever make claims to say that we fix or cure. As far as the research goes, we just recently concluded a study with Harvard McLean, and functional MRIs, imaging of the brain, is showing structural change taking place as a result of the Brain Balance program. So you're right that we're kind of at the new part of this, and we're working with many other universities, neurologists, medical doctors, professionals all across the country, because we want to continue to produce as much high-level, rigorous scientific studies as possible.
So Rebecca, I do want to just cut in one moment, because you just said that you had functional MRI research and that is producing structural changes in the brain, but functional MRI is actually about the functioning that's happening at a given time, rather than changes to structures, parts of the brain. So are you saying that the studies are showing that there's actual functional differences? For example, I know one of your hypotheses is that you're trying to increase connectivity. Is that what you're talking about in terms of this newer wave of research that you're doing?
Yes, so research showing that it's indicating greater activity in different parts of the brain, so indicating those changes.
And I think here's one of my concerns. I did take a look at your website, and what I will say that what's wonderful is that this is a comprehensive program. You talk about diet and fitness and skills and communication, and I think that's all very beautiful.
Yep.
But I think that there are a couple of misleading things about the research that has been conducted or the research that you show on your website. You have a 36-page PDF that shows all of the research in this area. However, those are not necessarily studies that you've done. They're studies in the general research literature that says maybe there are certain connections between certain skill sets and how people function in terms of their ADHD.
Yeah.
I think that's misleading, because I think a general parent who's going into that will look at that 36-page PDF and think, wow, they did 36 pages of research. And the other issue, of course, with functional MRI is it's awesome. I think it's exciting to look at those images, but the problem is they're only telling you what your brain is doing moment to moment. And it's changing all the time. It doesn't mean that the brain is always performing in this way where this part of the brain might be connected with this part of the brain all throughout the day while they're in school.
What's wonderful, though, is what we're seeing is what the functional MRIs are indicating also match up with the symptomatic change that the parent's seeing. We also do different validated measurements so that we're looking at this from as many different objective directions as possible, because you're right, there's no one gold standard. The brain is so complex, and so trying to look at things from as many different perspectives. For the 36-page piece, that's absolutely not trying to be misleading. We are a comprehensive approach that's addressing whole body coordination, strength, timing, the way we take in information. The intent of that piece is to show that there's independent research supporting each of the individual components of our program.
And I'll be completely honest, the reason that we're having a debate, because when I read about your programs, my thought process was, why not try it?
Of course.
But then I saw the price tag. And I think that's why we need to discuss this openly and honestly, because there are a lot of things that can be done that are free, and there are things that can be done more cost effectively. So if you're going to pay the money, you would like to be guaranteed you're going to see validated results. And I want to bring Dr. Vaughn into this. I want to ask you, because you are a neuroscientist, and I don't want to put any pressure on you, but you know the brain better than most of us. I'm curious from your perspective where you think the science lies with the tools that Brain Balance uses.
Look, there are different qualities of science out there, just like there's different qualities of food, from fast food on to Michelin star. The science that this organization has produced is fast food science. It has massive methodological flaws. It doesn't have a real control group. And look, when your financial stake is tied to the data looking a certain way, you got to have a little bit of skepticism with what's reported. So the direct data is useless and non-existent. And look, the most powerful effect in all of clinical science is the placebo effect. You see it in every single case study. And so when you have strong reports from people, but they're not backed with proper scientific method, it's sort of meaningless, because you don't know whether people are just saying things have gotten better and everything goes back the other direction once everything is stopped. We know that dysfunction and mental health issues are tied to dysfunction in the brain, but to say that it's left brain versus right brain and a host and multiple sets of different types of illnesses can be diagnosed that way is like a cartoon model of the brain. It's effectively meaningless.
I think as a parent, my child went through until June, and he is now not in the program anymore. I certainly paid the money, but also know that in paying the money per hour, I went to a therapist with my son, and it cost much more than going to this program. And it was something that when you think about it and you just take it in pieces and you say, my child is now going to be eating healthy food, and we know that there's a gut-brain connection there, and they were doing stimulation that would allow my child to get auditory stimulation, visual stimulation, tactile stimulation, so that when he was in a situation where he was being, there was demands on him to pay attention in school, he had gotten used to that, so he was able to pay attention so much better. Imagine the child who's sitting in class, and now you hear something out in the hallway. His attention isn't going out there anymore.
Yeah,
His attention is on the thing.
I think we totally understand that as a parent. In many ways, what really truly matters to you personally is that N of 1, right?
Exactly.
I understand that. So I totally respect and understand your experience. It's amazing that you've seen these profound changes.
And it's not a one shot. Look, my children still need all kinds of parenting and help.
We know
and
that it's a process, and we love the fact that he's improved so much. I think what we're all trying to get more clarification on is, can we really tout this program with all of the different strings that it comes with as evidence-based? What is the evidence?
Coming up.
It's a little unfair to say that the research that's been produced by Harvard is going to be something that we should just throw away.
That's misleading.
Then.
All the teachers go straight to, he's got ADHD. And so I had him tested in the school district, and they said, nothing. He doesn't have ADHD.
That's coming up.
The science that this organization has produced is fast food science. It has massive methodological flaws. It doesn't have a real control group. So the direct data is useless and non-existent.
What's wonderful is that this is a comprehensive program. You talk about diet and fitness and skills and communication, and I think that's all very beautiful. However, can we really tout this program with all of the different strings that it comes with as evidence-based? What is the evidence?
I think that it's a little unfair to say that the research that's been produced by Harvard is going to be something that we should just, throw away.
You keep saying that the study that was done at Harvard, and the reality is that the study hasn't been published. And
just recently completed. So yes, and it does have a control group,
but again,
but it's not
that's
published yet.
misleading,
Yes.
right? That's misleading, and unfortunately, consumers are not aware of that. They don't know that once you submit a manuscript, that it takes a very long time for a peer group to review it and determine the validity of this research. So when you say that this research has been completed by Harvard, consumers are going to think, and desperate, helpless parents are going to think, wow, this program was researched by Harvard. And that is just not an accurate claim. And what we're trying to say is, well, okay, I hear that your children did well. And that's what we want. We want every single child to do well. However, is it exactly the program that contributed to the improvements, or are there other variables that resulted in the decrease in symptoms that you're seeing? And when you're saying that this is a drug-free ADHD solution, there were the majority of the people that you guys researched were on medication while they were going through your study. So how can you make a claim that this is a drug-free solution?
To clarify a couple pieces, certainly, again, not trying to be misleading, saying that it's published. The study recently concluded. Again, it was so exciting to see substantiation of what we're seeing play out in real life. We have an 85% parent satisfaction rate, and at the end of the day, to have a child be able to feel and tell the difference in themselves, to have parents and teachers notice the difference is wonderful. It's not the end-all be-all. We need the science to support the anecdote, and we agree with that. So again, we're not trying to say that what we've done up until this point is exactly where we want to be. We're here right now with an 85% parent satisfaction rate, with so many incredible stories, and a focus on, we've put together an interdisciplinary board made up of neurologists, medical doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, so that we can continue to evolve, to continue with the rigorous research to the degree and level we'd like it to be. So again, not trying to make any misleading claims. When we say non-drug, we're not medical. We're not here to diagnose. We're not here to prescribe medication. We are a comprehensive program where we're engaging your senses, your muscles, body coordination, healthy lifestyle, healthy nutrition. There's not a risk or downside to that, and we're seeing great results.
Spending a lot of money is a downside. I think, Travis, you made the clear point, which is there's a clear choice for parents. Do you want to make a very expensive bet on something that has no serious science behind it, on a whim that it might work based on some anecdotal evidence? Do it. And if you don't want to spend $10,000 or $12,000 to do it, then that's your choice.
I definitely did not spend $10,000 or $12,000. I mean, I think it depends on the person, depends on how long your child is going to be in the program. That's definitely
What's your mean price for a 6-month trial?
not the case. I don't know how much it is for.
And Dr.
On
Vaughn,
average,
I
it's
mean,
about $150
I think that's
per
the
hour.
key issue.
150 per hour,
The consumers need to
yes.
know that going in. I mean, it's their right to spend their money the way they want to, and if they've tried other things, they're frustrated. But there has to be, complete openness, transparency in the science that's being suggested.
The role of scientists isn't to tell you what to do. It's to give you the facts, and you as parents get to make the right decision.
We just wanted the option. I just want options for my child so that when he was on medication, when we first were starting and just saying, something's not exactly working here, and I need something more. We tried therapy, and that totally didn't work. But you know what? For some parents, therapy is gonna work. Some parents, only medication is gonna work. Some parents, a collaborative approach with all different things, including brain balance, is gonna work. Change of diet.
Let me interject, because I think you've clarified the conversation really comes down to money. So if you're a parent, let's say you have $5,000 in your retirement account, and you have to decide how to spend this. One question objective, which is right now in terms of the insurance coverage that most families have, what types of things will they pay for when it comes to treating a child? And let me just back up and say that I love that there is more of a focus on non-pharmaceutical treatments. I am so excited about this, and I hope that we have wonderful data. But in terms of right now, if a parent has a limited budget, what kinds of things, Dr. Yip, will insurance pay for?
Well, insurance will definitely pay for evidence-based treatment, and what the evidence demonstrate is that cognitive behavior therapy or behavioral interventions is the first-line treatment for children with ADHD. For children with autism, there's also behavioral training and also parent training with learning how to manage children's behaviors is something that is the first-line treatment for ADHD as well as autism. And that's what insurance will cover. Insurance will also cover medication. However, like you say, I'm not a proponent of putting young kids on medications either. However, when we're looking at the quality of treatment with the price tag, you have to weigh out your balance of, well, is this worth what I'm going to get? And if you can get the same results with something that is going to cost less, that your insurance will cover, and it's backed by real data and hardcore science, then that is an obvious choice. However, again, on the website, it doesn't illustrate all of those points.
Right.
And the website does say that you can eliminate the symptoms of ADHD and autism. I don't know of any treatment that can completely eliminate symptoms.
I don't disagree with anything that you just said. So many of our families that come to us have been through every single one of those pieces that you mentioned. And like you said, for some students, for some families, that absolutely does the trick. Again, there's no one silver bullet that gets everyone to where they need to be.
And we do have to take a break, but I think where we're at right now, if I could summarize, is it's really come down to there are certain families out there who may have a limited ability to pay for certain treatments, and where I agree 100% with you, Dr. Yip and Dr. Vaughn, is in that case, I'm going to pay for the evidence and or what my insurance will cover. Having said that, if you're a parent and you have the economic means, you're going to try anything possible. And when we come back, we're actually going to hear from a mother who has been considering this treatment. She has been listening backstage. We're going to hear what she has to say next.
Coming up,
All the teachers go straight to, he's got ADHD. And so I had him tested in the school district, and they said nothing. He doesn't have ADHD.
then
My problem is that when I go to your website, it seems very profit-driven. I literally clicked the franchisee button and said, how much can I make?
that's coming up. You might have seen a brain balance center pop up in your neighborhood. The company boasts more than 100 locations nationwide that all offer a drug-free approach to overcoming ADHD and other learning disabilities. Some parents claim the program is transformative, but skeptics say it lacks critical scientific data to back up claims. So who should you believe when it comes to your child's well-being?
We're back debating a controversial treatment program for ADHD as well as other learning disorders. We want to bring Linda into the conversation, who is concerned about her son's behavioral issues and is looking for solutions like so many other mothers out there. And thank you for being here because, you know, as a mother, I can imagine you're willing to try just about anything to help your child. And you're very interested in the program that we've been discussing here at the Brain Balance Center. What made you interested?
I've met a couple of mothers in and around the Encino Center that have had such response, out of the ballpark response with their kids. One of them had a child on the spectrum who is a totally different child now, and another child has a similar issue with that my son has. I have been looking for 2 years to find something that made sense with what's going on with him in the classroom. He's very smart. He was testing 90 percentile in math and 40 percentile in reading. His reading comprehension was really compromised. And once word problems came into math, then suddenly his math started to drop and his attention started to drop. And all the teachers go straight to, he's got ADHD. And so I had him tested in the school district and they said, nothing, he doesn't have ADHD. So over the summer, we started reading together and he would read a sentence and an entire synonym would come out of his mouth than what was on the page. Mm-hmm. He would say, you know, the storm made us angry was on the page, but he would say the rain made us sad. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So I brought him to Brain Balance and they tested him.
And so what happened when you went to the center? What kind of assessment did you receive and what were the results?
The first thing that they said to me when they sat me down with the results was, did he crawl? And I said, he actually did not. He would scunch on his butt. You know, and she said a lot of what's going on with him is a developmental stage that he may have missed. When you're on all fours and you're looking up and, you know, and the muscles in your eyes and the muscles in your neck are all working together, something happens. His 6 muscles of his eye are very weak. He had no peripheral. So what they have to do is bring him back into that developmental stage and work those muscles and work that coordination so that that side of the brain, they bring up the 30% of what it's working at. Isn't that what
you actually talk about the actual assessment that was done?
I didn't go into the room, but I was told what he was doing. They would ask him to look over here to the X and over there to the X. And as he looked over with just his eye, it would be off to the right or it would be off to the left. Or he would start to read and they would track his pupils and he would drop down and then drop back up and he would backtrack and go up. His reading was all over the place. So if you're not bringing the information into your brain in a synchronized way, you're gonna get confused. So they sort of have to fix that and figure out, is that what's going on? That's confusing his brain. He can't understand what he's reading.
So when I hear that, I'm thinking, okay, you have a child who has difficulty with eye tracking. And to me, if one of my kids had issues with them, I would take them to an optometrist, an ophthalmologist, to even vision therapy to improve that. Or, you know, I would take them to an OT for sensory issues. So I'm wondering, what was it that led you to take your son to Brain Balance?
Because I think it's more than that. I think with him, it's a comprehension issue. There's a breakdown in, he will be 100% ready for a test. He goes in, we've verbally done it, and we've written it down. He knows it. He goes in, he takes the test, he blanks out. He got 1 right out of 10. He knew everything going into it. He got 1 right out of 10. So he just blanks. His recall is compromised, his comprehension, he'll read a paragraph. He cannot tell you what he just read. Mm-hmm. So there's something going on.
So there are some academic achievement issues. Rebecca, I want you to be able to speak a little bit more to this assessment process and also who's doing it? What types of professionals and training do they have?
Sure. You know, we're not a medical facility, and so we're not here to make a medical diagnosis. We're looking for any indications of gaps and holes in development. And what we've seen is when we work on and improve coordination, balance, the way you take in sensory information, we see improvements in how the child's eyes are moving for when they're reading, so less jumping and skipping. We see improvements in their confidence and success in the classroom.
So Rebecca, I'm still waiting to hear a bit more about the assessment process and who actually does the assessments and what types of training or credentials they have.
So our coaches are certified cognitive coaches. It's a certification through an international the International Board of Credentialing and Certification. Coaches are trained to know and understand brain balance. There's no one training or certification or license. There's not an occupational therapy program that can prepare you for brain balance. We are a combination of lots of different pieces. So the assessment itself is looking to see many validated age-based standards. When we're looking at fine motor, we use the Purdue pegboard. We use the interactive metronome to measure timing. So we're using many validated standards to get a sense of, is this child performing at age appropriate? Again, we're not making a diagnosis. We're looking to see, are there any clues to show where things may be derailing? What's potentially holding this child back? Not everyone is a fit for brain balance. We do an assessment and we look to see, is there an opportunity to make things better? We can't change things for all kids or all families. So we start with an assessment. And each family, we provide them the information that we gather from the assessment, and they get to make the decision to say, does this resonate with me? Does this feel like the right fit for us? If they do feel like it's a good fit, then we're going to work with them every step of the way to deliver the best possible program and results. And our goal, my favorite, is when the kids themselves can tell and notice a difference in themselves.
Coming up,
My problem is that when I go to your website, it seems very profit-driven. I literally clicked the franchisee button and said, how much can I make?
then
Dr. Vaughn, I want to ask you this. You study the developing brain. Are we getting any closer to having more answers?
that's coming up.
We've been discussing a controversial treatment program for ADHD and other learning disorders. Back with us is Vice President of Programs at Brain Balance, Rebecca Jackson, child psychologist, Dr. Robin Silverman, along with developmental psychologist, Dr. Jenny Yip, and neuroscientist, Dr. Don Vaughn. I want to give you an opportunity, Rebecca, if you would, because again, my problem is that when I go to your website, it seems very profit-driven. I'm just going to be honest with you. It feels very profit-driven. It's franchise-driven. I literally clicked the franchisee button and said, how much can I make? That was the first thing it said on your website. Yeah. So what I want to give you an opportunity, because I think the desire, the goal is wonderful. Yes. Down the line, what is the goal in terms of, if this works, I want it to be as accessible as possible. I want treatments to be accessible, affordable. Right now, when you have a treatment that isn't really proven, it's pretty pricey, I say go for it. If you're a parent, quite honestly, I would probably, if my child was experiencing difficulties, I'd probably try it because I'm willing to try anything if I had the money. But where do we go from here? If the goal is treatments that we know work, that are accessible, can you at least maybe address your approach there as an organization forward?
Our goal is to be able to help as many kids as possible. And we are a business, but we are a business driven by the passion of helping kids. And it's not a bad thing to be in a business of helping. I have no need to apologize for that. It's something that I'm incredibly proud of what I do. Mm-hmm. As a company going forward, our goal is and hope is to be able to partner with schools. If we're able to connect and work and help with schools, their hands are tied with the number of kids that need help and the services they're able to provide in the schools. And so to be able to partner and work with schools to make the program accessible to everyone that needs it. And so that's the direction that we're hoping to head in going forward, because that can even sometimes be even further reaching than medical insurance. And we do have some school programs where Brain Balance is on site in schools and seeing great changes.
I think that's all wonderful, and I really hope that there is the research to support all of that. Again, you know, the great concern is the credentialing of the program, the credentialing of the therapists who are conducting the program.
Not therapists.
Okay, not therapists. However, the program is treating ADHD and autism and childhood learning disorders. So these are all in the mental health area. So, you know, whoever the clinicians are in treating this, I mean, the fact that the whole program was founded by a chiropractor, that makes me feel like, well, if I need a heart surgery, why don't I just go get my dentist to do the heart surgery, since that is probably less expensive than a heart surgery.
To be clear, he started as a chiropractor, went on to do work in brain injury and rehabilitation. He was our founder. That was his background in education. Just because you start one place in education doesn't mean you don't continue to learn and grow.
Skill set.
That was his original background. And again, at this point, we're collaborating with medical doctors, neurologists, psychologists. I don't think any one profession has all of the answers. Every profession looks at it from their perspective and their direction. And I think in the end, the best product and the best program is going to come from a combination of all of those fields together, from a strong understanding of neurology, of medicine, of psychology, of teachers in the classroom, and parents saying, my child is struggling, what can I do to help? And again, it's that comprehensive approach that I think is going to be the best in the end.
I'm surprised by everyone here's reaction. She just said, you're going to take a program, you're trying to get into schools that doesn't have serious scientific backing, and everyone's like, oh, that's a nice idea. We don't know that there aren't negative consequences. So far, all I've heard are the positive case reports. We haven't talked about the people who have gone through your program and talked about online the despair that they went through, that they had a high expectation of treatment and got nothing back. There's absolutely no science to back this up. There's a whole bunch of theories, but maybe it works. And maybe there's something going on, and if it's worth paying $150 an hour to eat carrots and eat healthy, which is shown to improve performance, then that's your prerogative.
Coming up,
Dr. Vaughn, I want to ask you this. You study the developing brain. Are we getting any closer to having more answers?
then the only show on TV where everyone at home has a chance to enter to win the Word of the Day giveaway. Find out what it is. That's coming up.
Dr. Vaughn, you're a neuroscientist. I want to ask you this. You study the developing brain. You've been on the show before talking about concussions and all the things that can happen to a young brain. Where are we at right now scientifically in terms of gaining a better understanding of why all of these things happen? Are we getting any closer to having more answers?
The truth is, we just do not understand very much about the brain. Yes. A shred of a tiny bit. You have 100 trillion connections in the brain. Yeah. So while it's honestly physically painful to hear somebody simplify it to left and right brain is going to diagnose all of our problems, you can understand the frustration when a parent says, goes to different medical providers and says, I can't do anything, it doesn't work, it doesn't fix, and you're left, science has nothing else to give you right now.
I want to give some concrete advice to any parent out there who is dealing with a child who, whether they have developmental delays, they've been diagnosed with ADHD. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about some things that they can start doing right now, even at home, to potentially improve the situation?
Well, I think that parents have to do their due diligence in doing the research to determining what is the evidence-based treatment for whatever condition it is that you're looking to treat. So there are many nonprofit websites out there, nonprofit organizations such as the National Alliance of Mental Illness or even Child Mind Institute in New York.
ADHD.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm not saying that there is no efficacy in your treatment. There just isn't the science to back it up. And when I have children coming into my treatment center and desperate parents, and they have gone through years and years and years of treatment, and they're still suffering, that's a huge problem for me because that is unethical, how there are so many clinicians out there who are treating not from evidence-based treatment.
Right, and Dr. Yip, I want to sort of expand on that and a point that you had made earlier, which is that, Rebecca, you've said over and over again, we don't diagnose. We're not in the business of diagnosing. We are talking about functional difficulties and trying to ameliorate those difficulties. And the concern is the marketing, because the first page of your website says, if your child has these conditions, and I believe there's about 9 or 10 conditions that are listed, including ADHD, autism, and various types of pervasive developmental disorders, then we might be able to help. So in that way, you are linking the clinical psychology literature and diagnoses with the work that you're doing, yet you don't actually have licensed psychologists and psychiatrists just working at your facility because you're not a medical facility.
We're not a replacement for any of those things, nor do we claim to be. We love working alongside other professionals. And what that list of conditions would have in common is that they're all conditions impacted by
And here's my
development.
recommendation. If we're talking about something that's transdiagnostic, that really don't have to do with diagnosis, more like, does your child have problems with concentration, eating a poor diet? I would love to see your marketing be reflective more of a functional approach of bullet points, like the way your program is designed to do.
I would love to come back and all meet together a year from now. Again, we've got so much incredible, rigorous research that's been designed by phenomenal scientists. I'd love to come back and discuss again.
Let's do it. And Linda, why don't you come back on and you can talk about your son's experience. But I think in the meantime, you put it best, Dr. Vaughn, the brain is a complex organ. And we're only beginning.
Are the same.
We're going to have a list of a lot of the resources we talked about today on our website. And as parents, you have the toughest choices to make, and you just have to make transparent choices, what's in the best interest of you, your family, and your child. I thank Linda, Rebecca. I want to thank Dr. Silverman, Dr. Yip, Dr. Vaughn. And Rebecca, you're spot on. Anyone who's going to try your program, if they choose to spend the money, make sure you understand what you're getting into. And by no means, I think this show is very open-minded when it comes to alternative treatments, to trying things that don't have severely negative consequences. We don't always know, but please, whatever you do, if you're working with the medical establishment and if you don't think they have your child's best interests at heart, find someone who does. It takes a village to solve these problems, and maybe a year from now, we'll have more solutions. Maybe we'll have more data, because luckily for us, really smart people are working on the problem. Thank you all. We'll be right back.
Coming up, the only show on TV where everyone at home has a chance to enter to win the Word of the Day giveaway. Find out what it is. That's next.
You know, throughout the show, we've been having this really interesting debate, and I think one of the most important things we always try to do on this show is give different perspectives, share what data we have with all of you so that you can make the best options. And we don't always have all the data.
No.
We share it, we try to make it transparent, because ultimately, what is our goal, Drew?
Well, to be open-minded and to help our patients.
And we want you all to shine.
What's that? That's our word of the day, shine. So go to thedoctorstv.com and enter the word of the day, shine, for your chance to win an iHome speaker system with Alexa built in. It's worth $150.
All right.
Really cool.
Drew, I hear that your hard work and dedication has paid off, and you're thriving in a new way. Explain.
Well, I am, and it's a big deal to me that USC, my alma mater, where I went to medical school, I've been involved in voluntary teaching for years now. As long as I've been in private practice, I've also combined giving back to residents and fellows teaching in my practice. Well, USC made me a full clinical professor this week. So, you know, to me, that's just,
We're proud of you.
no, it's just, you know, it's what it is to me is just thank you. Is a validation of giving back for all those years, having young doctors with me. It's special to me knowing the influence that I've had on those doctors that are out there now. The best of the best. It's special to me that I know that I had a part in their training. And getting back to, this very intense topic we talked about, medicine changes all the time. New things come up. Some of these new things don't always work. You have to be a skeptic.
Let me just say this for everyone watching. Becoming a full professor of medicine is a big deal. And we are incredibly proud of our colleague, Dr. George.
You got to give it a little credit to your age. Age does factor into it, that finally they go, oh, he's been doing it so long, we're going to be.
Dr. Orden, you're so amazing for doing what you do, because what you're teaching is you're teaching these students to be good critical thinkers. And that's been the spirit of this show. I think we're trying to teach our audience how to think for themselves, right? You weigh the data that's out there, and you decide to synthesize that in the way that you know how, using the knowledge that we do have.
And this discussion today with sets of colleagues that had different opinions. The three of us just learned a lot from the show.
And maybe this would be our formal prescription, which is be a lifelong learner. And whether it be regarding your health, the health of your family, or quite frankly, anything, be a lifelong learner. We may not all end up full professors like Dr. Orton.
You don't have to call me professor. That's
and
okay.
hey,
Professor Orton.
but we will gladly hang on to your coattails, my friend, and we are incredibly proud of you.
I learned from you too.
Well, it's
We
an
learn from
honor
you
and a
every day.
privilege.
Thank you,
Certainly, if
Dr.
you missed anything on today's show, visit us at thedoctorstv.com. I mentioned earlier we'll have a list of resources about a lot of the things we discussed on today's show. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.